Jill Matson here. And what's all the fuss about tuning to 432? Here's a 432. A beautiful, warm tone. Throughout the last 100 years, people all over the world have called the musical scale that we think is the only scale, the one that we use today, based on A equals 440 hertz, or a little higher pitch than 432, as oral caffeine. Many mystics in the great Hindu tradition have suggested that the countries that use the scale of 440 hertz developed in industry and accomplishments of physicality due to the tuning of this oral caffeine, this get up and go kind of a feeling in a musical scale. In contrast, prior to the internet becoming so popular, the countries that used the old tuning that would have an A much closer to 432, such as India, developed meditation techniques and calming and abilities to develop the spiritual attributes within themselves. Rudolf Steiner, he was a mystic who studied with Alice Bailey and Helena Blavatsky, who studied with the Great Right Brotherhood, the Ascended Masters. Rudolf Steiner has been quoted as saying that when people start to tune and listen to 432 hertz, that their spiritual path will unfold and begin to advance quickly. 432 versus 440. Rudolf Steiner also went on to say that the ear was pitched to a scale in which A was 432. I don't know how he came up with that. I'm just quoting him. And towards the end of the video, I'm going to give you some science and some sacred geometry on 432. Right now, I say the best argument for listening and tuning to 432 is its warm and calming sound. It's empirical, how this makes you feel. I don't know if people remember this song, Stairway to Heaven. It was always so special to me. And it's pitched to a 432A. It's just a little bit lower in pitch than some other songs. The 440A hertz vibrates me up and around here. Personal experience. 432 hitting my heart chakra. Now, out of all your chakras, when you research the mystery schools of the masters that have roamed the earth, you'll find teachings suggesting that all of our chakras have been shut down in pairs so that we can experience life as an individual, as you versus me, separate entities. And this was done by allowing us to have less streams of information so that we weren't conscious that we were all that is, or connected to everything. The only chakra in all the traditions, from my knowledge, that is not shut down at all. It's our heart chakra. The heart chakra being like a portal, like a Merkaba, a travel device, our relationship to source, all these beautiful things by resonating the heart chakra. The vibration in this crystal tuning fork is very strong, and when I place it right on my chest, my whole body starts to vibrate in 432. It's a noticeable healing for me, a noticeable calming, changing my consciousness while calming me, giving me peace and centeredness. Now, how did ancient man tune? I doubt they had a machine to measure hertz. And although we can, through archaeology, unearth instruments in ancient Egypt, pitched to A equals 432, and also we can pitch flutes and other instruments with fixed notes in Greece with the Pythagorean mystery school, also with A equals 432 hertz. But how did they figure out how to make an A 432? Here's my suggestion. First of all, ancient people saw the world differently than we did. As Pythagoras said, all is number. And I know I read that a lot of times and I never really quite got it, but I do now. What it means is that every feeling, every thought, everything in the periodic chart of elements, everything is energy, and it vibrates. Therefore, you can count those vibrations, and it has a cycle per second. It has a frequency. So when they say all is number, they're saying the world is numbers expressed as frequencies, saying that everything is energy. Further, throughout the Chinese, the great Hindu traditions, Buddhism, Jainism, all across the globe, there was an understanding that certain number patterns were sacred, magic, and often number patterns were correlated to shapes found in nature. They had a different way of approaching mathematics than we're used to. For example, the Fibonacci series of numbers, it's a way of like building different squares. It's a little ancient technique, and it creates the Fibonacci numbers. And when you build these kind of whirling squares, you create phi, and you create the spiral in the galaxy, and the spiral in a beehive, the spiral in a sunflower center. There's tens of thousands of phi in this magical little numerical pattern in the Fibonacci numbers. Therefore, ancient people would consider it sacred. Ancient people must have had and prized people with psychic gifts. Easily you can see that when reading the Old Testament in the Bible. Highly clairvoyant people could observe the impact on your aura of music. Almost every ancient culture changed their music at dawn, at noon, at mid-afternoon, evening, and at night. This is because the numbers, or the frequencies, expressed as numbers, whichever way you want to look at it, at different times of the day, created a different impact on your aura. Said differently, don't you feel different at dawn than you do at the midday, than you do in the evening? Therefore, you have a different frequency created by our environment. And different notes tune us and produce a healing effect on our aura. In another example, the solfeggio numbers, a set of prized magic numbers from many cultures, when that is put to sound, and you take Kirlian photography when you photograph your aura, before and after, you see that this set of tones lights up your aura with white light. So why is that important? If you look at your voice, and there's a free program at nanovoice.org by Sherry Edwards, you can look at every frequency in your body. Everything vibrates, and you can lump it into categories of the musical notes C or D, E, F, or the colors of the rainbow, so you can see how much pink you have and how much yellow and how much blue. You'll see that we all have different personalities, we all have different colors, and we all have different songs and notes. And isn't that a beautiful thought? And you can see that many of these special number patterns will create white light in your aura. And after you study the frequencies in your body, you'll find that most of us have a lopsided amount of colors, some of this color, not that. And pure health, pure enlightenment is white light. It's all of them. So the ability of some certain scales to produce white light, to produce like an enlightenment, a heavenly healing, if you will, is very significant. And how would they measure this? They'd measure this by looking at your aura. How would they measure a scale resonate your heart chakra? By having very highly developed people who are very in tune. Notice which tones resonate their heart chakra. Like this one, 432 hertz. Going to break a little bit and talk about harmonics. Harmonics is a after ripple of sound. After the initial strike of a tone, you can hear harmonics as it continues to ring. Hence, people love singing bowls. They love them out of metals, all kinds of precious metals, and they love them also out of crystal. In Sumeria and in many ancient sites, we find musical instruments made completely or partially with gemstones. All energy is conscious, according to some theories in science. Into my experience, I know that I'm very capable of exchanging information with other species, plants and trees and other things. And I don't think I'm special. I think everyone can do that too. If you're just kind of silent and go into a daydreamy place and think, if I was that plant I'm looking at, what would I be saying? What would I feel? And in a method like that, you can tune into the plant's consciousness and begin to start to open up ancient channels where we were able to communicate with other species. Again, as we evolve back to spirit, we become more conscious and aware of one another. So I would suggest that according to the ascended masters and angels, the crystal kingdom has ascended, it being more evolved than we do. People buy crystals and love to hold them in their hand and place them all around them because they make them feel heavenly. They make them feel really good. And therefore, the harmonics of a crystal, which would be unique unto itself, is very healing and uplifting. Think of it as bathing us in fifth dimensional energies. Harmonics. When a harmonic is created after the sounding of a root tone, the harmonics then go up in pitch. If you listen carefully, you can hear the pitch slightly rising. They get less in volume as they go higher, and sometimes they go out of our hearing range as well. But they can be mathematically calculated. And instruments are different in that each instrument, let's say gold or silver, for example, in a bowl, they're going to have more of an energy, let's say in the fifth harmonic or the sixth harmonic, whereas another instrument might have it all in the root note. And so different harmonic chains are created by different materials. When you look at the mathematics of frequencies in your body, and makes so much sense, you'll find that many of the body, probably all of the body processes, but many of the body processes that I've seen, such as digestion, it's a chemical formula. And when you look at it in terms of audiology, and you put in the cycles per second of things in a chemical formula, you'll find the mathematics works and that it resembles the mathematics for a harmonic pattern. And that's thanks to the work of Sherry Edwards. So one reason why we find harmonics, singing bowls, tuning forks so divine is because our body feeds on harmonic chains. And simply by listening, we feed ourselves. And in this particular harmonic chain, it's a very high spiritual energy that we get to receive. And energy is shared between root notes and harmonics. And harmonics are often pitched at notes in a musical scale. So you'll find energy shared between harmonics and some notes in the musical scale. The number 432 is found in a great variety of places in sacred traditions all over the globe for many thousands of years. The 432 is one of the dimensions found within the Great Pyramid. Any dimension chosen in any building was done so for its frequency or energetic value. So therefore, when incorporating 432 into dimensions of a building, it's like incorporating the frequency or the energy of 432 so that people in that building receive this abundantly beneficial frequency. 432 is also found in Stonehenge, Sri Yantra, and many other sacred sites. 432 is also found in ratios. The sun is roughly 864,000 miles in diameter. That's 432 times 2 equals 864. The diameter of the moon is about 2,160 miles. Well, 432 divided by 2 equals 216. There's 864 seconds in an hour, and I'm sure that's no accident. In Hinduism, the Kali Yuga is said to last 432,000 years. It's been a part of the Great Cycle, which lasts about, according to the Hindus, 4,320,000 years. Many traditional schools of yoga teach that inhale and exhales of a typical human being in a day equals 21,600 breaths per day. Think that there's 108 beads in prayer necklaces. Well, 108 times 4 is, you guessed it, 432. According to a computer program, the optimal number of dimples in a golf ball is 432. The great rock star Prince had over 4,000 questions on one of his websites, and he only answered one. The question was about, what's the big deal about 432? His answer, it's the gold standard. According to Ananda Bosman, the Egyptian musical instruments were often tuned to 432. Not surprising, because it resonates with the heart chakra, and they associated with notes of their scales with the chakras. It was also found that this was a popular tuning, according to archaeology, in Greece as well, with Orpheus, the god of music, tuning to this particular note, 432, to tune you to nature. Anything that God created in nature was considered like God's baby, God's creation, and therefore carried the full qualities of like heaven on earth. Very healing, very healing. I'm going to show you a chart of harmonics. On the going down the column, you'll see that one is cycles per second, or frequencies doubled. Going across right to left, you'll see that the cycles per second are tripled. These are corresponded to musical notes that are 5 notes apart, corresponding to the Western cycle of fifths. And notice the importance of 432, and even another note that is perhaps a harmonic or related to 432, and that being a number very close to the speed of light. I'm going to show you some slides that have been done showing you what a cymoscope looks like when exposed to the frequencies of 432 versus 440 in our musical scale. One way to get yourself a spiritual dose of 432 is with a tuning fork. Tuning forks are selected because they are able to give you the precise cycle per second. Another way is to find sites online that convert your music to 432. You see, since 440 is our tuning note, all of our instruments that people buy are tuned to 440, a flute, a trumpet, a trombone. All of these instruments would have to be tossed and totally recreated from scratch to be compatible with 432. The easiest way to get 432, since we're already listening to digital on our phones mostly, is to get some type of program online, and it takes the digital music just down a little bit so that it's going to be centered on 432. And blessings.